Evisceradio. What's shaking, everybody? My name is Thomas, and welcome back to another awesome episode of Evisceradio, where I sit down with bands who I play on the live show, and we talk about what's good in life and what's good in music and everything in between. It is guaranteed good, wholesome, fun, genuine times. Thank you so much for tuning in, because you guys are in for a great one today. She's been 5 years in the running, but their fifth album, titled Ontological Mysterium, is going to be dropping at some point this summer. One of the reasons why Horrendous kicks so much ass is because they have an album already out, which serves to be a bit of a fucking highlight marker in the book that is my life, I guess, where it's where things are just going really, really good, and my life is turning around really, really well. I had already had this album out in my discography. I've been listening to it for a while, but it never really clicked until this turning point in my life happened. Honoretta is the name of it. There's a few tracks on there that really, really stand out. I'm not going to get into too much about that, but like one of the great reasons why I dig a band so much is because you will get some sort of like, not a nostalgic feel for it, but like some sort of sentimental approach. These guys always remind me of like good times of my life because of albums opening themselves up to me at the times that they should. So, a little bit of a rant there, but yes, Horrendous is fucking dope. And their fifth album is gonna kick all kinds of motherfucking ass, man. But yep, today's the day. I get to sit down with Alex. He plays bass for the band. Total stand-up fucking guy. His interviews have been really great. I'm really happy I'm gonna be sitting down and having a chat with him, pick his brain about the new album, but what's going on that's good in his life, and like, you know, all the good stuff that we talk about here on Evisceradio. So thank you very much for tuning in. Enough blabbing from me. Let's get right into it, man. Horrendous, baby. Yes. Got me?
I got you. Very good, actually.
Good, perfect. Yeah, we got good microphones, good cameras going on in here, man.
That's incredible. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Things are fantastic. I'll admit that I'm a little bit disoriented. I worked my first day at a sort of like a summer odd job in the music industry yesterday. It was a 12-hour day, and I've been in school for a little while as of recently. So I've been, on the less lazy side mentally, but more lazy side physically. So it was a big wake up call to return back to service industry work.
Yeah, oh yeah, I bet, man. No apologies necessary, man. Like I know we're all busy bees doing our busy bee things, man. So what you were in a music related summer thing, did you say?
Yeah. So I mean, just by luck. So for context, I lived in Philadelphia for a very long time until very recently. Okay. I went back to school a couple of years ago in like a return to college program for adults, and I've been living in mid-state New York, like around Kingston in the Hudson Valley. Uh-huh. And but I'm back in Philly for the summer with my partner, and I'm only going to be here for a few months because I got to go back up and finish the program in the fall.
Sure.
And my partner works for Bowery Presents here in Philadelphia, and some friends of ours are, work in venues and whatnot. And so there's a venue called Franklin Music Hall in Philly. And through friends of friends, I got the chance to be doing like production running, which is just like, I show up in the morning, the riders for all the bands are there. We have to go grocery shop for them. Like we're essentially like the people, setting up green rooms, cleaning stuff.
Dude,
making sure that the artists have what they want.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. I am a IATSE member who do all the backstage setups for all the rock and roll shows, running riders, all that kind of stuff. Like I get it. It takes up tons of time, man. Tons and tons of time.
So tell me, like, where are you based out of? Like, what's the deal with the radio? I know that we have an agenda here, but I'm interested in hearing about what's up and what brought you to wanting us to do this.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it. I'm being interviewed now.
This has to be part of it.
Yeah, I love it when it goes down this way. And sure, yeah, there's an agenda, but like I like the people conversing part of this too. So I really do appreciate you asking.
I want to meet people. Like this is the one of the best parts about this process. Like,
dude, that's why this exists, man. It's a vessel to meet fucking like-minded people just doing their thing.
Likewise. Yeah.
Anyhow, fucking I am based out of Toronto, Canada, but I'm not from here. I'm from a very maritime east province called Nova Scotia.
Okay.
And
I know it.
yeah, and I'm from an island on the northern tip called Cape Breton. And I was doing the theater thing and all that kind of stuff back at home, but I came out to Ontario, Canada to sort of chase the film aspect of that whole side, which is what I'm doing now. I'm in studio. I'm just about to wrap up a 6 month TV show. Yeah, lucky boy, man. It's definitely paying the bills.
I was going to say, so there is the strike not extended into this area of the world, or different, like smaller production?
As it happens, it does. Anything that's come out of Hollywood in terms of a script basis, and now actors are on board with that kind of thing too. Any sort of North American productions that are going on are going to be ramping down because of said strikeage. But okay. Canadian content and stuff that is currently in the works will wind up wrapping itself up to and possibly progress into other projects. But we do stand in solidarity with what is going on. The strikes are happening for a very good reason. So it sort of just, it remains to be seen. It'll all get worked out in the wash and we'll all wind up going back to work. I don't think we're entering the age of reruns, but like the right people are standing up at the right time. There's too much of an imbalance going on in terms of who's making the money versus who's not. Like it's a fucking crazy industry. Like Hollywood is definitely an example I would use in terms of the imbalances in the world of who's getting rich and who's not. Who's putting, you know what I mean? So the time is now.
I know the work is, I have friends in the industry, and just as a hats off to you, like the work when it comes to doing anything with film or TV is truly remarkable. I mean, people don't realize what it takes to make that. I mean, same with the music venue stuff, right? Like people don't realize how many hands and hours it takes to make these things fly. So.
Dude, and like, there literally is magic that happens backstage. What you see on stage or on TV, there is an entire world going on behind all of that stuff.
It's crazy.
You know what I mean? It's definitely an art form behind the scenes. I'm very happy to have been involved for as long as I've had, and my career is long and storied. Not to fucking do one of these, but I'm happy with what I do. I like what I do. I'm willing to go the extra mile to make sure that works, which is why I wound up in Toronto. Yeah. Another reason why I wound up in Toronto is because I believe in this Evisceradio project.
Okay, so you're doing this in addition.
Yeah, man.
This other professional world that you're also maintaining.
Yeah. I mean, I could use an extra day in the week and maybe a 30-hour day or two would be fucking nice. But I mean, like, we only got one ride here, like, and you may as well make the best of it. And I stumbled across a radio thing just prior to a COVID lockdown that kept me going. And then when I came out here, like, I knew it needed a little bit more. And I just wanted to talk to, like, I'm a musician myself, and I'd like to relate to how other people are working on their projects. And then I just sort of one day was like, put two and two together. And I was like, I think I should just fucking get some camera gear and start talking to bands. And it's literally just been as easy as, hey guys, I'm starting a thing out. You want to sit down and have a chat with me? And everyone's been like, fuck yeah.
I think, especially in the metal, I mean, I don't know what it's like for, people who are at a certain echelon, but like for all of us, like smaller fish, or like the people that, even if we've had some successes, we still feel like we're like, in love with it and doing it DIY essentially, like in terms of like what's happening behind the scenes. Like anytime anyone wants to talk, at least me personally, I'm like, you want to talk to us?
Yeah. Can you believe it?
Sure? Are you sure? So we're regardless of who it is, bigger or smaller production, I think we're always pretty thrilled.
Oh man. I mean, I'm also on the other side, just happy to get yeses. Like, I mean, like, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just a fan of the tunes and the people behind it. And that's just essentially what this is about, really.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's going to go. I'm like, again, the film thing is super busy, but it will always be something I do until maybe it blossoms into some other version. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So you're a metalhead as well. This is something that you also said you're a musician.
Yes.
So I'm going to have to like research you.
Oh, there's nothing to find out about me, man. I'm not like a fucking YouTube celebrity type. There's not much info about me. I'm I'm my generation was a step behind the social media stuff. Like I have the Facebooks and the Instagrams, but I only post what is necessary for the Evisceradio stuff. I don't do anything on a personal level.
Yeah.
I'm just not. That's just not me. I'm a product of like the 80s and 90s, man. Like, you know, I sorry, go on.
I mean, I was gonna say you're technologically still way ahead of me. I mean, I'm turning 30 this year. So
are you really?
And I still barely know how to mix a video or audio together and make it sound not terrible. So
yeah, that is a journey in itself too, man. But
yeah.
where there's a will, there's a way.
Indeed.
You know what I mean? I started off audio engineering. I went to a course for that. So the technological side definitely does help. But like, I mean, again, like I'm just having fun and I'm doing it. Like, it's just like you guys are having fun. You guys are a bunch of humans in a wicked ass band.
Yeah.
You're doing fucking all kinds of cool stuff. Like the segue going into
and subtle transition.
I'm a good conversationalist too. That also helps.
Yes.
The album number 5, which has been something I've been waiting for so fucking long, man. Horrendous has been I was saying in this little intro thing that I do to these videos that Horrendous is a band where they have an album already out called Honoretta, where it sort of showed up on my radar when there was a big turning point in my life. Things were going really, really good and my energy was high and it was vibing really, really well. And that's when that album sort of revealed itself to me. And there's only a number of bands that have that, I guess, fucking stature in my life, I guess. And I'm very happy to say that you guys are in amongst those people that can highlight as chapters and shit.
It's an honor. I know this experience well, right? Sort of like the mystical timing of releases and sort of either life highs or life lows. And it's largely chance, and I'm glad that we just happened to fit into a place where it hit you in the right way at the right time.
Oh, thank you very much, man. You're most welcome. It's fucking it's cool to say stuff like that to people who are like, you know, involved in this particular love for music, which we both are in.
Totally.
Yeah. But when it comes to this 5th album, you had said in an interview previous that this new type of shit that's coming out is like what did you say? You said it really well too. It was like bigger energy and much more, like, it didn't use the words positive, but like you guys were in a really different headspace than where you were previous with Idol. And at that point you had said that you were, I think, just about to go in the studio. This was a couple of years back, but my question to you is, did that statement ring true? Are we getting like a high vibe and like a happy Horrendous kind of going on with this 5th one?
This is a great question. And I've noticed that for those who are paying attention and who are interested in the trajectory of the music have picked up that we've hinted towards this. And I will say that, you know, like the word happy is maybe a bit too sort of like reductive in terms of what the album is dealing with, but I would say that shift from sort of like the chaos and despair. I think despair is a particularly like potent word for where we were at during the Idol times.
Yeah.
I think that this record does indicate a shift, and there is a lot of like triumph on the record. There's a lot of like climbing out of spaces that are like, if not real, like mythologically low in some way. So like, yeah, like to us, I do feel like it's like rising out of the mire of a previous sort of like kind of heaviness and darkness. And like that darkness is still in the record as well. Like we haven't, you know, like thematically it hasn't been erased. It's just been recontextualized in a way that I think is more geared towards sort of like a bigger energy, an energy that is sort of like ascending as opposed to descending.
Yep, I got you.
So, and like there's a lot of like particulars in terms of like the lyrics and sort of like the way that the idea of the record is kind of like blossoming that I think points towards that, and we can get into it. But yeah, I think if it was me that specifically said that at an earlier time before the album was finished, I think now that it is finished, yeah, I would say that that's definitely the case.
Great. Excellent. I'm really looking forward to a happy Horrendous. Well, that's just the way that I would describe it. Yeah. I'm saving it as a bit of a treat. I know you guys just released one of the songs off of that stuff. I'm the type of person who will not listen to that.
Wow, discipline.
Yeah, it shows up in places where I could use. Where is it in other aspects of my life? But at least here, I'm like gonna have the pre-order show up. I'm the dude that'll wait for it to come in the mail and fucking have my like, oh, here it is, yeah, and then drop it in there. So I can't really comment too much on what to really expect, other than I know that what I'm going to be hearing is a group of people putting out something in a much more elevated and happy, for lack of a better word, headspace.
Yeah, I think as a band, like even if the music couldn't be described as happy, I think like as people,
that's what I'm saying.
Like where we're at, and sort of like the process of making this music like came out of a place of sort of like high flying confidence, I think, as opposed to sort of like a trepidation and like caution and sort of like not really being sure if what we're striving for is happening. And I think that in this case we really feel that way. And I'll also say I am excited that you are making this decision, because I think there and we like this thing I'm about to point out, but I think there's a little bit of anxiety in terms of like the single release process, because really is like an album, and the range is huge, and the track that we put out, I think, like is one particular side, at least is closer to one particular side of the Horrendous spectrum, as opposed to other tracks on the record, which are maybe on the opposite side and maybe even go further on the opposite side of the spectrum than our music has ever gone. So it's sort of like,
really,
singles will always be misleading, even though we're going to do 3, I think.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm allowed to admit that or say that, but
I could chop it out if it's not.
It's fine. I doubt it's a big deal. But yeah, so like I think I'm excited for you that your experience will be top to bottom, without any of the sort of like decontextualization that the single process sort of like implies.
Yeah, well, thanks, man. I mean, that's just sort of how I choose to digest my music. I mean, the art of album gestation is a bit lost with all the Spotify's and the fucking random plays and just like, I mean, you don't take things in the way that an artist is made to hear it, have it put out, and I just think it's kind of lost in the digital age. Like and that's just kind of how I like to do that. I had no idea that the single choosing would be stressful. Like, that's the last thing I would expect you to say. Is that typical of, is that just a you guys thing, or is that typical? Like, I've never released a single, so I couldn't really say, like, I just never thought of that before.
Yeah. I don't think we're so excited about it that I don't think it like, I don't think it ultimately was like super stressful, but I think in the back of our minds, and like as like the first single was coming out, and like we pay attention, like we're doing what we're doing regardless of what people say, but we really want to know what people say regardless, right? Like just because it's not going to stop us from what we're doing doesn't mean that we're not interested in what people have to say. So we're paying attention to forums and articles and comments that people are saying, the YouTube videos, and and seeing people's comments about like in this particular, I'm like being careful not to spoil anything for you. But I don't think that I will. Like people mentioning sort of like, I think this track is like one of the like meaner songs on the record.
Right.
And you, as a person who knows our music, that we have like there's a mixing pot of like meanness and like high flying melody, right? And like, like an emotional height. And some people are commenting about like, this is great, or like, but I really hope that we hear like X, Y, and Z from that we're used to hearing from this record or this record. And I know that on the album, we cover all of it.
Right.
And excellent. That like, the fans of things like the slower sort of like anthemic things like The Stranger or like Titan or like Ozymandias, the end of Ozymandias, right? Like those are on the record. And having the single come out that doesn't have a section like that in it, just this particular song, is that became stressful, sort of being like, don't worry, I wish I could tell you not to worry. Like, there's this is a whole smorgasbord of horrendous musical explorations, and this is not representative of the album necessarily. No single track can be representative of the album.
100%, man. That'd be a near fucking impossibility.
And I think it goes to your point, right? About like the sort of like the Spotify, we're aware of the Spotifyization of everything, and being that like, when you release a single, there is sort of and even we were when we were in Seattle, Jamie and I had a short conversation about this and being like, even we do this, but like unconsciously, like a band releases a single and we're like, and you know, in our head, are like, oh, like this is what they sound like now or whatever. It's like, this is just a single from a whole record. Who knows what can happen on that record, you know?
Yep, absolutely.
So it's hard even to avoid it in your own brain when you're used to sort of like the fast-paced, fragmented nature of things in contemporary times.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, like an interesting thoughts, eh? You had spoken earlier, you had mentioned the word confidence and that the overall sound of this new album reflects some confidence. I can hear it in your voice that I know that rings true. Are you able to tell me where did this confidence come from? Like, this was, as far as I can tell, the material was written during lockdown type stuff. Or I'm sorry, not type stuff. Was this material written during like the shitty dark period where you couldn't leave?
No offense taken at all.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been drifting around and talking to people about. Some people I keep hearing this comment recently. Some people are like, I wish I could do the pandemic again. And like, I hear, you know, I know for a lot of people it was like life changing. They were able to discover some things that they couldn't have otherwise. Maybe myself included.
I'm in that for sure, man. Yep, I did it right.
Hell yeah. But this is such a good question. And in terms of the writing process, I think the band is a little bit strange and maybe in comparison to other bands in which the frame for writing is fairly large.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was leaning towards with like yeah, go on, sorry.
No, it's fine. Please interrupt me. I will gab forever. So if you have thoughts, I'm happy to hear them.
Right, perfect.
But yeah, so like the writing for this record was essentially like already happening even as Idol was starting to come out, you know, because with the way that album release processes are, even before global emergency state, there's a holdover and we really take our time. And as I'm sure you know, Damien records and mixes and masters everything. We do everything in the house, which is an incredible gift, but that also means that you have room to tinker as much as you want. You know, there were times during Idol and times I think even during this record where like whole sections are trashed or whole parts of songs are reworked, new things are coming. One story I've been telling recently as people are talking about the record is that like I actually recorded a healthy chunk of my bass parts remotely because I was in New York in school.
Oh, for this one. Yeah, right. Of course you must have. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was in Damien's studio a lot during the sort of early stages of setting up Skeletons of Songs. But I missed a lot of that because I was gone. And one day I just got, as they sent the track that they were working on for a particular weekend, because they would go down in 3-day chunks to Damien's house, work, you know, sort of like focus on a song or two and then have that be that and send it my way. And all of a sudden I opened my email and I saw this title that I mean, we all have like fake, you know, little fake titles before the songs are finalized or whatever. There's something I didn't recognize. And I opened it. It was an entire track that we had worked on eons ago that was not slated to be on the record, that had now been recorded in full. Drums, guitars, a beautiful outro that didn't exist before. And they were like, here you go. And it's now an integral part of the record. So this is kind of off the beaten path from your question about confidence.
Yeah, go on, man.
But the recording process is, and the process of making the record is spanning a huge period of time, a lot of creative sort of ebbs and flows and stuff. But to the point, I think we wanted to allow ourselves to go through that process. And I think there's always been a little bit of doubt in the band.
Okay.
And I hope that my dear bandmates will not feel scornful of me saying this, but I don't know if you agree with this, but my perception of the band, especially as someone, I'm sure you might not know this, I'm not an original member of the band. I've been with them for 7 years, I think.
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah.
But, you know, I was not part of the genesis of the group. And so from an outside perspective, even before I joined, like the band is an orphan of sorts, stylistically, I think, in the sort of like, if we think about the landscape of metal these days,
Yeah.
You know, the general vibe is a lot of the time like you're in a corner, you know, like you're an old school death metal band, you're in the black metal world, you are a melodic death metal band, you do mythology and folk metal, you know, like you're sort of like in these boxes that have a long lineage of terrain already tread. And especially in death metal, like I feel like the death metal trend right now is like fairly hardcore influenced. It's very low tunings, like stompy riffs, like super catchy in a lot of ways, like tough guy stuff, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yep. Yep.
And we're a band that is largely trying to experiment and push ourselves musically and have fun. And you know, it's like it's not really about like a particular shtick. We don't really have a particular shtick outside of being people who are absolutely in love with music, who grew up being metalheads, and who have liked seeing musicians sort of like sometimes test the limits of certain genres. And that's
Cool.
kind of left us sometimes being like, it's hard to be confident in this space because it's sort of like we don't have sometimes it feels like we don't have a home and we're working our asses off to write like the most interesting music we can. We're not always sure, you know, there's a lot of people who think it's absurd.
What
There's a lot of people,
the doubt you mean?
no, there's a lot of people who think the music's absurd, I think.
Oh, no, fuck. What? Yes, I'm sure.
And no, to each their own, of course. But to finally come to answer your question, I think we're all entering a place in which we were like, we have to own this. Like we have to know that we're never going to be a certain kind of death metal band. We're never going to be a certain kind of band. Like we're never going to be a band that has sort of like uh, a well-formed theatrical gimmick at its back. Like our gimmick is writing music to the best of our abilities and performing it in like a high flying heavy metal way. Like we're like that's kind of like we have fun when we perform. You
Oh,
know,
that shows for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
that's like our and we like that. You know,
Yeah.
the music is exciting for us. It's not scary or whatever. And like, and I think on this record we just finally are just like tossed out to the wind. Like we have to. And as we were writing the songs, we felt this. You know, like we were listening back and we are like, we like what we're doing. And we actually think that it's the best balance of all of these things from like, we've always been, Matt always describes the band as sort of like a head of Janus or Janus, the like
Right.
Roman or Greek. I can't remember whether it's Greek or Roman. I should know, but this like mythological figure who has a head looking in both directions, right? Like we're looking back towards the past because we love the history of metal and we're looking towards futures that haven't existed yet. And we've always wanted to sort of like meld the two together. And I think this record does that more than anything we've done. Uh,
And
and also does it in a more enjoyable way. Like I think Idol was a little bit of a head spinner to the point where sometimes we listen to the record and we're like, how did we let this happen?
yeah, you were saying in a couple of ones that you guys thought that way too. Yeah.
And I don't feel that way in this record. I listen from top to bottom and I'm like, it's an easier listen without losing the sort of like musical madness that we're interested in exploring. And I just like, I don't know. So the confidence is coming being like, all right, this is it. No more doubting.
Yeah.
We're gonna take the flag of Horrendous and wave it as high as we can. And we're going to let the music lead and we're not going to question it.
It sounds like you guys finally found a home in yourselves to figure to work as like a unit to be able to put out something that is entirely what you guys are made of in like a chemical biological sense. That's what I'm hearing from you is that like yeah, the doubt is gone. You guys are doing what you are about personally and on like a communal level, and I'm sure that's going to be represented in this album. I fucking can't wait.
Yeah, I think you said it best. Like I haven't heard anyone say a phrase that resonates with me more than sort of like it sounds like you found a home for yourselves in the music. I think that is true. I
Yeah,
think all
man.
of us feel that way. I think like yeah, I it's hard to imagine being more excited and prouder of a metal project like in my life. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be possible. I mean, I hope we can do more, of course, but this is definitely like this record, I thought Idol was sort of like my childhood dream come true, you know, sort of like.
How do you mean?
Well, I always wanted to work with. I had a weird sort of like personal journey with metal in which like I grew up, you know, my first band was a metal band, like a thrash metal band in my hometown.
Okay.
I grew up with that music. I grew up around other people who were older than me, who I looked up to, who were metal musicians. And yeah, and like the music that I love the most, like, you know, like Death Symbolic was like my favorite record ever, you know, like as a growing up, you know, like that kind of niche of sort of like a balance again, like sort of this balance of old and new. And when I met Matt from Horrendous and got a chance to play with them, I was like, this is the closest I've heard a contemporary death metal band to sort of like achieving this.
Yeah.
So to then meet them and play live with them and then write an entire record with them that I'm very proud of for regardless of its faults. I thought it was sort of like, there's no way it's going to get better. There's no way it can get better.
I have arrived. It's here now. Yeah.
And like, I was wrong. Like, you know, I think I was even more excited and even prouder of this record at the end. And just like, it's a dream come true. Truly.
Well, dude, man, if you've got the depth to be able to realize that in yourself, then I'm sure that like there will be more projects to follow, which will have its own revelations, man. That's the beauty thing about stuff like this, is that like you've got the wherewithal to know that you be in tune with how you're feeling when you're doing a project, and you move on to the next. And oh my God, that blows my mind. I'm breaking myself open. I'm open, like, you know what I'm saying? And that'll just move forward into whatever that will move forward into what other projects you will have coming down the pipe, whether it's music or your schooling or whatever the case may be, man.
Yeah.
So it's a hallmark. It's a hallmark of a fucking deep individual, and I'm just letting you know that I see that.
I appreciate that, and I mean, I'm guessing this also means that this holds true for you in terms of your career. Like maybe you've worked on a project and thought like, this is the pinnacle of where I'm at, and then you do something later, and you're like, I don't even want to look at that anymore. Like,
oh, dude, 100%. A fucking great story coming up here. When I was in my mid-20s and I had mentioned I'd take that recording arts course, I'll try not to be long-winded with it, but yeah, like it's definitely like a highlight spot where I was like, man, I'm supposed to be here right now, and this is what it is. Before I got into this particular recording arts project, I was kind of fucked up on drugs and in a shitty spot. Yeah. And I was put on a trust fund to get through all of this kind of stuff, to get through this tuition. My tuition was paid for, is what I'm trying to say. And I was like, holy shit, someone's actually putting me up for school. I better drop what I'm doing and fucking straighten up. And I wound up doing that and coming out on top of the class, which was awesome. Huh. Through that process, I had met a group of kids who were they were like 15, 16, and 2 17-year-olds at the time in high school, playing some of the craziest, most inventive death metal that I could ever picture, coming out of like just developing minds. So I got them into the studio. I kept them there through the whole fucking run of the course. And then about 6 months later, we put out an album. We recorded an album, like in like 10 fucking, like it was 10 days, no sleep, whatever. But it wound up being like a very bonding situation with these people. They were all still my brothers to this day. One of the reasons why I moved to Toronto is because the main songwriter, he lives like 20 minutes away.
Who is this band?
They're called Obsidian, spelt with a Y. They're not on Spotify or anything like that. I've got like fucking 100 CDs of them, like just sitting in a closet right now. There's a couple of songs on YouTube. If you're interested, I'll mail one to you. No problem at all. It's a very good example of, it's one of the best examples of just kids playing what they believe, totally raw, and just, you know, doing what they want to do and feeling very good about that kind of stuff. And having been involved in that particular process, it rubbed off on me. I was like, holy fuck, I think I'm in the right direction. I haven't put an album out since, and I don't really fuck around with recording anyone else's music other than my own. But it's that the point being is that's just one example of, like, you know, being in tune with where you are and being present.
Was this record called The Grotesque Presage by any chance?
Grotesque Presage, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I pulled it up on Metal Archives.
Oh yeah, they're there. Fuck yeah, they were, dude, when they sent me, so they thought because they were too young that they just wouldn't be able to get in. I would just have a problem with this. And then I
Mm.
went and saw them, and I said, "You guys come and record with me. It's all free time or whatever," because I was learning too. And they were just sort of like, "No, it's too good to be true. We doubt it." And then we went in and we just bonded over each other. I met some like, soul spirited fucking, I can relate to them on a huge level forever type personalities. And like,
Yeah.
it has never gone down a shitty path. We've never had any issues. We met each other at the right time at a creative fucking, I guess, peak in our lives. And like, we were carrying it through till today.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I would be really interested if you would not be opposed to sending me a copy or sending me something, even if it's like a live video link from YouTube or something that I could watch.
Oh man, no, I'll send you the CD. Text me your mailing address. I'll get it out there. I'll get it out there tomorrow.
Cool.
Yeah, man. But yeah, that was a bit of a try not to rant too long, but I'm very happy to have the wherewithal to realize that like there are massive high points, and as much as I hate to admit it, recognizing the low points as well. It really just defines I personally who I am as an individual. One of the reasons why Evisceradio exists is because we're all going through our paths like that, and I'm sitting across from someone right now who knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I really like to like pick people's brains, man. We're all just fucking human beings running around doing human being shit.
Yeah.
Working on our passion projects.
Yeah. It's and it's the same for me. I mean, that's why I ask. I know that's not always there's not always room for that in an interview, but like, this is these interviews only happen because of like this dynamic process, right? Like
100%.
You've gone through a bunch of things and your interests have led you to the point in which you're doing this radio situation. So like, it's good to be able to contextualize it a little bit.
Yeah, we're all the sum of our experiences, really. And like, of course, I want to talk about some horrendous shit, and we have, but I mean, again, I keep going back to like, we're just humans, man. Like, I find this type of stuff super interesting. Yeah. Like remove the cameras and the lights and the Zoom stuff. Like we sitting across having a pint and just fucking vibing, you know what I mean? Like that's just that's what I'm about. That's what I like.
When we come to Toronto next time, we're going to make that a reality.
Yeah, really? Yes. Yeah. Are you guys coming?
We don't have any plans that I know of for Toronto yet. But I mean, we haven't been there in a while. We were going to go there. The Idol tour that we had booked before the pandemic shut it down, we were going to stop in. At least I think we were going to. So, I mean, it's a matter of time for sure. I mean, we've played Toronto, Montreal. We've played BC a few times. So like, we're got to come back, and then we got to play somewhere in Saskatoon.
Nah, it was Saskatoon. Why Saskatoon?
I've got some Canada knowledge up here because of close friends that I actually had a friend who studied at Trin in Toronto.
Cool.
And I have a good number of friends who still live in Toronto, and I also a big fan of the musical output of Canada.
Yeah, dude, we got some serious talent up here, man.
Amazing shit up there.
Yeah. Montreal and Toronto have like really been showing me what's what. Like we in East Coast Canada, we don't really have much. Not a lot of people come by there.
I'd like to visit.
Oh, you should.
I've heard it's beautiful.
Dude, if you do wind up going out there, hit it up around September, October. Nova Scotia is very hilly and lots of peaks and valleys. And when the colors turn, if you're into your scenery, like
big time.
Like, oh yeah, dude, there's a reason why it's on the postcards. You know what I mean?
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But listen, man, thank you so much for sitting down with me. I had a blast talking with you.
Of course.
I'll send off that Obsidian stuff. I'll keep my ear to the ground in terms of fucking when you guys be coming to Toronto, and first pints on me, homie.
Word. Yeah. I mean, if we are coming up there, I will be sure to message you personally and make sure maybe even before it hits the public ground. Hopefully, we've got a lot of complicated stuff that we got to balance with the band, with everyone's lives, but I think it's all our deep hope that we will be back up there before too long.
I look forward to it, man. I'll be first in line.
And please reach out once the record comes out and you've listened to it. I feel like this is a to be continued conversation.
It feels like that, doesn't it? I would love to have another sit down with you once it's dropped, and I've probably taken it in Thomas style, and we'll pick your brain a little bit about it. Yeah, man. Yeah,
and maybe I can gather the rest of the Rascals, and we can have a round table of sorts about it.
Awesome, excellent.
But keep us updated on the stuff with the radio, and thanks for your time.
No, man, thank you very much. You have yourself a great weekend.
All right. Sounds good.
Take care, brother.
Take care.
Bye. talk about some awesome conversating. Man, Alex, thank you so much for chilling out with me. I had a great time. That was natural flowing conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed that shit. It felt really, really good. Do not miss out on their 5th album, which is coming down the pipe in the next couple of months, called Ontological Mysterium. I will post the pre-order link down in the description below. Dude, man, Horrendous are fucking great. Alex is fucking awesome. I just fucking can't wait to hear their 5th album. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to the next interviews that are coming down the pipe. If you like what you hear, please give me a thumbs up and a subscribe and a follow or whatever it is you're going to do. I'm on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Show Evisceradio some love. And while you're at it, do the same thing for Horrendous, man. Do yourself a favor and make sure these guys are in your music library. You'll be a better person for it. I guarantee it. And so, on that note, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Thomas. This is Evisceradio, and I'll get you guys in the next one.